Hello to you all, whenever, wherever. I'm glad to see you or to have you here around. I'm a bit late with my March update, or let's say I just decided that because of this, I'm doing more about the full moon and the equinox right now. And everything else is there in written form on my website. As usual, I will put the links. So, yeah, I have prepared a little bit. So, let's jump over to the chart. So, you see, I named it Truth Doesn't Judge, just to use a different word for once. And to give a little bit a different meaning to all of it. So, the full moon. The full moon, also in geocentric view, means that Earth and Moon are conjunct, and the Sun I just draw in here as in opposition. But as we know, it's an axis, they always travel together. In heliocentric view, the moon is always more or less conjunct with Earth, logically, as the moon is orbiting around Earth. So this axis is very fundamental for us, right? And we get more information through all the other planets or bodies, but very fundamental as we stay on Earth is Earth herself. And of course, what we shine out, because the Earth is more like the ground, right? The soil, where we have our roots, the grounding, yeah. And then the sun is what we give out, what we radiate out, and we recycle around that. But we should stay grounded with our feet there, and not only up in what we bring out in this sense, in the materialistic sense, right? So we know there is much more to this radiating out and to the grounding, right? So interesting, here you can see underneath that little red dot here would be a black dot, and that means that there is very close conjunction between Earth, the moon, and this star here. It's, I don't know if I pronounced that right, but it's Zaviava of Virgo. We stay here with the full moon very close, because it's just 2 days later to our equinox point, here marked with that little thing here, yeah? Earth in Virgo, the sun in Pisces here, yeah? And you can see here that little Aries sign, because in the classic Western astrology, this one is called the 0 point of Aries. But for us here, we use the actual placement, yes, just like astronomy does as well. So we are now on the way to meet our equinox point of March, 2 days after this full moon. And interestingly, it was like that already a half year ago when we had the September equinox, it was also just a day or two before there was the full moon. So I think this has a lot to do with consciousness, yeah, that we can consciously about the themes, about the evolving nature of this time, to go consciously within that phase of the equinox and the time thereafter, until we will complete another square with the solstice in June. So we have in this region here, we have the North Galactic Pole, and obviously opposite here in the south there would be the South Galactic Pole. But we also meet with very intense parts, because there is also the supergalactic center, which means the center of local clusters, and there are many galaxy clusters here up in the northern part of Virgo, here in the beginning at around 8 to maybe 8 degrees. It's all here in this region. Many galaxy clusters. And so you see this whole area here is also by the in the Chinese astrology, and some part of special star catalog by some specific people from ancient Arabia. They called it kind of like the wall, and it includes some of the stars of Leo. So let me check, what did I write out? Yeah, it's called the right hand maintainer of law. So I thought this very interesting, this kind of wall thing, because we seem to cross kind of a line here, yeah, and that's the same on the other side here in between Pisces and Aquarius, yeah, with this the circlet, because we have under here, we just have like this beginning of the Phoenix and Sculptor, right? They go in this direction, yeah. So, and then we have at about 6-7 degrees here, we start with the constellation Cetus in the south as well. But don't forget, here in the north we have the mythical creature Pegasus, yeah, and there is one star of the Pegasus which does align with the galactic pole, but also with our solstice equinox axis, and therefore it is also very important, and it is kind of like a culmination of the theme of Pisces, which is water, but in a, let's say, more primordial sense. So we have on this axis, we have the theme of getting ready to clear ourselves, to purify ourselves, but also our thoughts, and kind of getting ready to receive. Just like we would filter water before we drink it, yeah? So it's this purification kind of thing, but also the whole mind, our clutter, because we will enter here with Virgo into a time with very direct access to, let's say, communications that go far beyond that between, let's say, two people, or me here now with you. That is also about the state we are in, yeah? When we are more in an angry mood, or are we more in a happy mood? And this is all affecting everybody, yeah? It's like a butterfly principle, yeah? It goes from one to the other, especially if we are not so aware of these mechanics. Then we may suddenly feel very like very down, and we have no clue why. And that can be because we met people who have low are in a specific state, and we kind of picked up on it without even realizing, yeah? So that's the same for everybody, but this doesn't mean just with other people directly in physical contact. It's also the vibration we get from, let's say, any news, or from what we eat, or whatever. I mean, you see, it's like many people, they say, oh, the food is best with cooked by mother, right? We hear that often. Why may that be so? Maybe because it was also made with a specific intention, with a specific feeling, and that is given into the food. Now, when we go somewhere and it's made by machines and maybe heated in a microwave, and then the person who serves it is in a bad mood for whatever reason, and then just whoosh, and yeah, so this food is kind of contaminated by that vibrations. And so it's that underlying vibration that also nourishes us in this or that way, and not only directly the food itself, even if it's very clean and maybe organic or whatever. So this whole the whole preparation process is in everything. But it's also how we treat our bodies. You know, can we be loving to our bodies? Can we be have attention to what our body needs? But also our, of course, emotional and mental state. We have to, or we have the ability here to really see what is going on within us, but also, of course, in the outer world. It's like, where do we overpower ourselves as well? Because the cusp here of Leo and Virgo is a lot about the use of power or influence. And in which direction does it go? Is it meant in a pure selfish way, or is it serving a bigger purpose, a greater good? So we have all these kind of energies, and you see, on the other side here, we have this the sculptor and phoenix, as I said, in the south. And so that is sculpturing, it is rebirthing, it is refinement, it's all these kind of things. It is bringing forth something. And the sun is up here. shining from the north, standing above those constellations. And in the north we have this Pegasus, that is this more, yeah, as I said, this mystical creature that can bring us and fly over into whatever regions we want to go. But for that we have to get some purity in intention, because if we do it for fame or for I don't know, for whatever kind of such reasons, then it's not the same. We are bound to those material realms. But we can make a step further and use our very own gifts to a bigger purpose. And that's the whole thing here, this preparation for a bigger purpose, this higher consciousness in this sense, yeah, that we know there is more to it than just only the material world, and we have to prepare ourselves all the time, just that as we would prepare the soil to put the seeds in it for them to grow roots and then to shine out. So when we go further here and here, we also have to break through some veils, yeah, some deceptions, also those we make against ourselves in this sense, because a lot of things, or most things, they don't happen from without to within. It has, in this sense, we all contribute, and then we get a reflection, we get an answer back. But the answer will depend of what question we send out, or what vibration we send out, and that we get back. Yeah. So in this sense, it is really, we have to prepare to be ready to receive, to harvest in this sense, yeah, because Virgo is about this receiving part, yeah. So when we look into our own lives, we see all this kind of happenings. We know, if we really look back and look into situations, and when we try to find out what is actually the only thing that is always the same in some ways, yeah, then it's always ourselves. When we have certain themes that we are presented the same again and again and again, and we feel maybe very broken about it, we may feel it's not fair or whatever, then we also have to see what is the common point. And once we realize it's ourselves, it may be not very funny. I have gone through that. It's not very funny. But we can go through that and we learn from it. We then know much more about ourselves, and we know what we can change in order to change what we give out. And then we receive different back. And the more we do that, the more we see that, not only on an individual level, but also in a collective level, the more we can find different solutions. We can become really creative and use that creative force we have in a more refined way, in a way that can serve that higher purpose. And sometimes when I call it higher purpose, it let's say we can be in alignment with also the real essence of ourselves, with spirit. Yeah. And I don't mean that in a religious way. Absolutely not. It's this connection to the essence of self in a broader, wider, bigger sense, which opens the gates to access also a far bigger picture that can transcend the own lifespan, so that we can see also in the past what was there and what can be learned from there to bring into a future that is maybe more fulfilling, not only for oneself alone, but maybe for humanity as a whole. And we, each of us, we can contribute to that in little ways maybe, yeah. Others maybe in bigger ways. But we can, and we do every day. But it's in our responsibility to know what we give out more and more. And these are learning processes. We are not just like, okay, here today and tomorrow there, but it can happen. Just like in, for example, this, how is it called? Spontaneous healing. But there was also a process before that, yeah. You can only experience such spontaneous healings if you were ill before and had to go through that and find this essence, this wider, bigger, higher picture, and define self maybe differently as part of this all, but still as an individual that contributes in a mature way to this all. That's what we are going through right now. So when we want to have that change, we also need to see what needs to be changed. And that's not a very comfortable experience. It's just one that it is needed. It is part of that whole process. So in some ways it will be a really wonderful time, but it can also be perceived as very painful for some time. But we want to burst, we want to bring out that essence and live accordingly. But maybe it also means that we have to distance ourselves from that which is not serving that higher purpose, that higher intention or goal. Because if we focus on that which we don't want, we will create exactly that. And so we have to know what we are doing, we have to know ourselves. And there, it doesn't mean that there is only one way. There are many ways. We all have special ways how we can deal with situations according to our very own gifts and talents and ways and experiences, and we can use them. They are not waste. They are all information we can use to gain clarity and use that in a creative way to transform these energies to become also part of our own power, instead of making us feel to be broken. No, we can use that and turn it around, and with that we grow. And this process we are in for this time, this months that we are going through Virgo. Yeah. So in this reading I did include other things that are actually present in this whole chart without pointing everything out, because I think in the past I may have been a little bit it may have been a bit difficult for people to follow that if there is not specific knowledge about these things included, present already. And I don't mean that in a bad way, please. I just would like to make it easier for you to understand the whole picture. But of course, if you like to know more, please visit my website. I will also put up more a written post about this topic, and there will be all the, let's say, astrological technical details to read. So I will link that one as well. So now I can only say I wish you a wonderful time. I hope you can really get that essence within you out to shine from this very deep grounded roots out and be the strongest, most wonderful being. So I say goodbye. You know the buttons where to click, right? And I hope to see you soon again. Or if you have any questions or comments, please, there is space there, right? There is all everywhere these comment sections, right? So I would love to hear from you. And with that, I say goodbye. I see you next time.